So this exhibition examines rugby in the First World War, trying to examine, I guess, what was the importance of rugby, what rugby meant to the war, also what was special about rugby, what made it different from other facts of society, other sports, and what was it about rugby, the camaraderie, the culture and all those things that led people to contribute so much to the war. Rugby players, if you think about it, were often young, they were often well educated and fit, so they were in many ways ideal officer material. Rugby was very much associated with the public schools and the university, so they're very clear and strong links through to the military already. Many of the international players, for example, were already training the officer training corps when they were at university, so they were in one sense prepared for military action, if you will. And also they were held up by many people in society as the flower of the nation's youth, because they were so young and so fit and well organised and well regarded. They were role models for others to follow, and I think that's partly why rugby was so well represented in the war, and also because there was a good story to be told, if there can be a good story to be told in such a horrible situation. There are so many strong individual stories that one can think about. I mean, an obvious one, and we timed the exhibition around the anniversary, the 100 years of the death of Ronald Poulton Palmer, who was the last England captain before the war, and they won the Grand Slam, a really wonderful team, and he was regarded as undoubtedly the best player of his generation, if you will. He'd done already a huge amount for one so young, and he was a really interesting character. He was a very kind man, a very gentle man, very interested in philanthropy and helping people less fortunate than himself. And he was also very clear about his sense of duty on the rugby pitch, but also, in the military effort, and he was determined to contribute in both spheres. And so that, when you're looking at that story, and then when you read some of the accounts of his death and the effect that his death had on people around him, in the rugby family, but also more intimately his actual family, it really brings it home. So from a rugby playing perspective, I think you have to say Poulton Palmer is a good representative, and he can only be representative of the hundreds of thousands of other rugby players who passed away, who served and passed away. When you get to examine so many of these personal stories and appreciate the scale of the suffering and the contribution that rugby made, and rugby of course is only one small part of society and a significant part of many of these people's lives, you just get an understanding of the war as a whole. And I can't understand how people could continue to function, really, when you look at what they went through for so long, and the suffering and the death that they saw, and compare that to my very fortunate life. It's very, very moving in that sense.